Hi, this is Ramya Ravindran and welcome back to my channel Infinity for UPSC. Today we are going to cover the fifth chapter, and that is Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. In the last chapter we had read about the Vedic period, which began about 3500 years ago, that is 1500 BC onwards. Then we also saw the megalithic culture, which began about 3000 years ago, that is 1000 BC onwards. Then we read about a village called as Inamgaon, which was occupied between 3600 and 2700 years ago, that is 1600 BC to 700 BC. So all these were seen in the previous chapter. Now in this chapter we are going to have a look at the later Vedic period, which began about 3000 years ago, that is 1000 BC onwards. Then we will also be seeing the system of Janpadas, which began in the later Vedic period, that is 3000 years ago, 1000 BC onwards. Then some of these Janpadas evolved into Mahajanpadas, and this happened about 2500 years ago, that is 500 BC onwards. So all these things we are going to see in this chapter. How some men became rulers. In the Rigvedic period, we had already seen that Rajas were elected in a democratic fashion, and only those people were selected as Rajas who had certain skills, the skills which are required for a leader. So it was selected by the Jana. We had seen this term Jana or Vish. It meant a community of people or a group of people. Now here we are going to see some changes that is occurring in the later Vedic period. So Rajas were recognized by performing very big sacrifices. So this is the first change. And the sacrifice was known as Ashwamedha Yajna. Ashwa means horse. So horse sacrifice was conducted, and through this ritual a Raja was recognized as a powerful leader. So what is happening in this ritual? A horse is led to wander freely and it is guarded by the Raja's men. That is the Raja who is conducting the ritual. And if this horse enters into the kingdom of some other Rajas, these other Rajas have got two options. The first option is, if these Rajas consider themselves to be inferior to this Raja, they can surrender. That is, they can let the horse wander into their kingdom and they will not stop the horse. Now the second option is, if this Raja does not consider this Raja to be superior than him, then he can stop this horse, and that means he has invited this Raja to fight with him. So after the fight, it will be decided which of these two Rajas are superior. Now all those Rajas who have surrendered to this Raja, those Rajas would be invited to the sacrifice and they are expected to bring gifts for this Raja. So this is the ritual that is followed in the Ashwamedha Yajna. Now the Raja who is conducting the sacrifice, in the sacrifice he is recognized as a very powerful leader. So he is given a special seat. It could be a throne or a tiger skin. Then there are various roles which are played by different people. The charioteer, he would sing praises of the king. His relatives, especially his wife and son, they would perform some minor rituals. And the other Rajas who are invited, they would be just spectators. The priest, that is the Brahman, he performs the rituals, and this Brahman is rewarded with gifts. The ordinary people, that is the Vaishyas or the Vish, they are expected to bring gifts for this Raja. Now we have seen three categories, that is the Raja, he belongs to the Kshatriya class, the priest, he belongs to the Brahman class, and the ordinary people, they belong to the Vish class. Now the fourth category is the Shudras. So these people, they are not invited for these rituals and they are excluded. Now the four categories that we saw, they are called as Varnas. So there are four Varnas. Now in the Rigvedic period also these Varnas existed, but they were not very rigid. I have told you already that in the Rigvedic period these Varnas were not on the basis of the birth. It was on the basis of the skill and on the basis of the inclination of the person. So it was not rigid, and a single family had people belonging to different Varnas. But in the later Vedic period, that is 3000 years ago, from that period onwards, these Varnas became very rigid, and a person belonging to a Shudra family was automatically recognized as a Shudra. So that is the rigidity of the Varnas which was followed in the later Vedic period. Then there were several books which were written in the later Vedic period, like Samveda, Yajurveda and Atharva Veda. In the Vedic period, there was just one book which was written, and that is Rig Veda. and that book was composed in the northwest of the subcontinent. But these books, that is, the ones which were composed in the later Vedic period, were composed in North India, especially in the areas where Ganga and Yamuna drained. So, what is the difference? Vedic period, Indus and its tributaries were important, and the book was composed in that area. But in the later Vedic period, the book was composed in the Ganga and Yamuna region, and hence these two rivers would become more important. So there is difference in the importance of rivers, there is difference in the area where the book was composed, and there is difference in the culture as well. These books were composed by priests and they described how rituals were to be performed and the rules which are to be followed by the society. Then there were several different groups in a society like priests, warriors, farmers, herders, traders, craftspersons, laborers, fishing folk, and forest people. Now, in the later Vedic period, the difference between the rich and poor was very sharp. That is, there was a stark contrast in the lifestyle of these two categories of people. So, priests, warriors, farmers, and traders, they were rich. Take a note of this fact. Farmers were rich during the later Vedic period. So if you get this statement in your MCQ that farmers were rich during the later Vedic period, it is a correct statement. They were indeed rich during the later Vedic period. We have seen that in the Vedic period, not much importance was given to the material possession. And the Rajas of the Vedic period, even they did not collect taxes. So nobody believed in accumulating lot of wealth. So the difference between rich and poor was not very rigid and there would be just minor difference between some people. But here we see stark contrast and there is difference between rich and poor. Now these categories, that is the herders, craftspersons, laborers, fishing folk, hunters and gatherers, these were poor. Now who decides these four varnas? Priest decides. Priest decides which people will belong to which varna, and once that is decided, that goes on forever, generation after generation. But in the Vedic period, it was self-proclaimed. Here, priest decide. And each varna has got a different set of functions which is to be followed. Example, the Brahmin, the first category, they are supposed to teach and learn Vedas, perform sacrifices and receive gifts. And the second category of people, that is the Kshatriyas or the rulers, they are expected to fight battles and protect people. The third category is Vish or the Vaishyas. They are expected to be farmers, herders and traders. So note this, farmers, herders and traders belong to Vaishyas. Now the second category and the third category, that is Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas, they could perform religious sacrifices. Religious sacrifices in the sense, do not get confused, it is not an animal sacrifice or human sacrifice. There is a fire altar or a Havan Kund in front of you and you are expected to repeat the chants which are chanted by the Brahman and offer some ghee or grains into the fire altar. So that is the meaning of religious sacrifices. So Brahmins, obviously they can perform religious sacrifices, and apart from Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas could also perform these sacrifices. But the fourth category, who are expected to serve the three groups, that is the first three groups, they are not allowed to perform any rituals. Now this statement is very important, that is women were also grouped with Shudras and both women and Shudras were not allowed to study the Vedas. So we can see a stark contrast in the condition of women during the Vedic period and during the later Vedic period. In the Vedic period, women were held in a very high position. They were treated with respect and they had even composed some of the hymns in the Rig Vedic text. But in the later Vedic period, they are not even allowed to study Vedas. So this is the difference that we see in the two periods. Later, they classified some as untouchables. See, this concept of untouchables, this did not exist in the Vedic period. But towards the end of later Vedic period, the system existed and some craftspersons, hunters, gatherers and those people who perform the burials and cremations, they were classified as untouchables. So craftspersons, hunters, gatherers and those people who perform burials and cremations were classified as untouchables. The priest said that contact with these groups are polluting. But there were many people who did not believe in this concept of varnas and in the concept of untouchability. Example, kings. Kings did not like the fact that Brahmins were given a place which was superior to them. Then there were other people who did not like the concept of Varnas, which was on the basis of birth. They felt that there should not be any difference on the basis of occupation and everybody should be given the right to perform the rituals. And there were some people who absolutely condemned the practice of untouchability. So this means there were oppositions from several people. Now this statement is very important, but there were many areas in the subcontinent such as the northeast where social and economic differences were not very sharp and where the influence of the priest was very limited. That means in the northeast the system of Varna was not very rigid and the influence of priest was also very limited. So very important, even during later Vedic period, in northeast the social and economic differences were not very sharp. Very important statement for your MCQs. See, in the fourth chapter, we had seen that there was no concept of untouchability and there were no concept of mistreatment of any person. But in the later Vedic period, this term dasa meant slave, that is, slaves existed in the later Vedic period and untouchables also existed in the later Vedic period. Next, Janpadas. In the fourth chapter, we had seen a term called as Jana, which meant a community or a group of people. Now here we are seeing a term called as Janpadas. So what is Janpada? The word Janpad literally meant the land where the Jana settled down. So that means during the later Vedic period, importance is given to the land and not to the people. Because in the Vedic period, the term was Janas, which meant a group of people. But here in the later Vedic period, we are using this word which is Janpad. So now we get to know that land or the material possession has become more important. And hence we see the change in the terminology, that is from Janas to Janpad. Archaeologists have excavated a number of settlements in these Janpads such as Purana Kila in Delhi, Hastinapur near Meerut in UP and Athranjikhera near Etah in Uttar Pradesh. So Purana Kila, Hastinapur and Athranjikhera. So these three are very important because these three are examples of Janpads: Purana Kila, Athranjikhera and Hastinapur. So in the Rig Vedic period also we had seen three examples of Janas. First one was Puru, then Bharat, then Yadu. So Puru, Bharat and Yadu. People lived in huts and kept cattle as well as other animals. They also grew a variety of crops such as rice, wheat, barley, pulses, sugarcane, sesame and mustard. Almost everything is same, but here you get to see one new crop and that is sugarcane. So take a note of this fact, sugarcane was grown during the later Vedic period. Earthen pots were grey or red in color. So these are general pots painted in grey color or red color, and there was a special type of pottery known as painted greyware. From the name itself we get to know that it is grey in color and there is some painting on top of this color. So these paintings are usually simple lines or geometrical patterns. So painted greyware, this is a special type of pottery which existed during the later Vedic period, very important. So what all are important here? Janas has become Janpad in the later Vedic period. Three sites: Purana Kila in Delhi, Hastinapur in Meerut and Athranjikher near Etah. Sugarcane is the extra crop. Ordinary pots were grey or red in color and special pottery was known as painted greyware with simple lines or geometrical patterns. This is a painted greyware. You can see that this is grey in color and there are some geometrical patterns drawn on top of this. Plates and bowls are the most common vessels made. These are extremely fine to touch. That is painted greywares. These are extremely smooth. And since these were special kind of potteries, these were used for special occasions, for important people and to serve special food. So painted greyware is extremely fine to touch and plates and bowls are the most common vessels. Mahajanapadas. So we have seen Janapadas which existed during the later Vedic period, and later Vedic period it began about 3000 years ago. Now by this period, that is 2500 years ago, that is during 500 BC, we see this system of Mahajanapadas coming into existence. That is, those Janapadas which were more important than others, they were recognized as Mahajanapadas. And these Mahajanapadas, they had a capital city and these capital cities were fortified. That is, a wall was built around these cities. So huge walls of wood, brick or stone were built around them. Now there is a purpose of this fortification. One is because they were afraid of attacks. Second is they wanted to show off their richness and how powerful they were. Third is it was easier for them to control the land and the people living inside this fortified area. So these three were the reasons for building the forts. Building such huge walls required a great deal of planning and resources. Resources in the sense bricks, stones, labor and other resources. So this naturally meant that a lot of money was required, and lot of money would mean that the kings would start taxing the common people. So taxation would begin from the later Vedic period onwards. So what all things are important here? Janapadas, the timeline is 2500 years ago, that is 500 BC. They had a capital city, fortification was done, and lot of money is required for which taxation would begin. See, in the fourth chapter, we had already seen that during the Rig Vedic period, the Rajas did not have capital cities, palaces, or armies, and they did not even collect taxes. Armies in the Mahajanapadas. The new Rajas now began maintaining armies. Obviously, since they have fortified their cities and the Mahajanapadas, they will have to protect it, and for that they will require armies. So in the Rig Vedic period, no army actually means no regular army. But whenever it was required, an army was formed and most of the men took part. See, we had seen no regular army, and these soldiers, they were paid regular salaries and maintained throughout the year. Some payments were probably made using punch marked coins. So very important, these kind of questions are often asked. During Mahajanapadas, there were regular armies and they were paid regular salaries, and some of the payments were made using punch marked coins. So all three statements are important. So these are the important Mahajanapadas and the respective capital cities. Actually, there are 16 Mahajanapadas, but these are the important ones. So Gandhar, the capital is Takshila, Kuru, Hastinapur, Panchal, Kampilya, Koshal, Shravasti. Then Kaushambi is given here. This is the capital city of a Mahajanpad called as Vatsa. So Vatsa, Kaushambi. Then Magad, Rajgraha, Vajji, Vaishali, Anga, Champa, Avanti, Ujjain. So these are the Mahajanapadas and the respective capital cities. So this is very important. Pause this slide and by heart it right now. Gandhar, Takshila, Kuru, Hastinapur, Panchal, Kampilya, Koshal, Shravasti, Vatsa, Kaushambi, Magad, Rajgraha, Vajji, Vaishali, Anga, Champa, Avanti, Ujjain. This is the image of fortification wall at Kaushambi. So Kaushambi, this is near present day Allahabad, which is in UP. So Kaushambi is in Uttar Pradesh. Next is taxes. We have seen that the rulers of the Mahajanapadas, they were building huge forts and they were maintaining big and regular armies. So they needed more resources, and that resource was obviously collected from the ordinary people in the form of regular taxes. Now what is the difference that we have seen? During the Rig Vedic period, there was no concept of taxes, and again during the period of Janapadas, there was no concept of taxes, but there was this concept called as gifting the ruler. We had seen in the Ashwamedha Yajna that the ordinary people and the other Rajas who are invited by the Raja are supposed to bring gift. So these gifts were the source of resource. But by the time of Mahajanapadas, they started collecting regular taxes. Taxes on crops were the most important, and this was because most people were farmers. Usually the tax was fixed. This is very important. Tax was fixed during the Mahajanapadas. So the tax was fixed at 1/6 of what was produced. This is from the farmers, and this is known as bhaga or share. Again, a very important term, bhaga is the tax paid by the farmer. So tax, this is fixed at 1/6 and it is called as bhaga. Now you have to note one more thing, that these taxes were not paid in the form of money. It was paid in the form of product or in the form of service. Now this is a product. 1/6 of what was produced, this is a product. Craftspersons in the form of labor, that is service. Herders in the form of animal and animal produce. Hunters and gatherers in the form of forest produce. And there were also taxes on goods that were bought and sold through trade. So taxes on trade also existed. So what all things are important here? During the Mahajanapadas, they were collecting regular taxes. This was in the form of product or service and not in the form of money. And 1/6 of what was produced is called as bhaga. This tax was fixed. Changes in the agriculture. Now there were two important changes. One was the growing use of iron plowshares and second is transplanting paddy. Now we see the use of iron during the Mahajanapadas. So have we seen iron before? Yes, we had seen iron in the megalithic culture. So the burials had tools and weapons of iron. So iron was known during the megalithic culture. Then here also we see the usage of iron. That is, iron was known during the Mahajanapada period. That is during the later Vedic period. Now what is the meaning of transplanting paddy? They will sow the seeds in a separate container and only those seeds which have sprouted and which have grown into saplings, those would be collected and those would be planted in the fields. So that means they are not directly sowing the seeds on the ground because all seeds are not going to sprout. Only few are going to sprout. So those sprouted seeds are collected and they are planted in the field. So this is called as transplanting paddy. Now this technique of transplanting paddy, it is a very tedious task. And that is the reason they have employed the slave men and the women and also the kammakars. So dasas and dasis and the kammakars. Laborers are also known as kammakars. Very important term. Kammakars are laborers which existed during the later Vedic period. Very important. Now because of these two changes, that is the usage of iron plowshares and transplanting paddy, what has happened? It has resulted into better production and which in turn means more tax would be paid to the king. That is the reason kings encouraged these changes because they needed more tax. See here we had seen that during the megalithic culture iron weapons were used and we had also seen a pottery called as black and red ware. Now what did we see in this chapter? We had seen that during the Janapada period, grey pottery and red pottery existed. That is, pots were either grey in color or red in color and there was a special pottery called as painted grey ware. Now this is black and red ware which existed during the megalithic culture. So note all the differences which I am pointing out. A closer look at Magad. We had already seen Magad in the map. So what is the capital of Magad? It is Rajgir. So Rajgir is the capital of Magad. Magad became the most important Mahajanpad in about 200 years. So what made Magad so important? There are three reasons. One is Ganga and Son flowed through Magad. That means the rivers were there in Magad and because of rivers they had a means of transport, they got water supplies and they had a fertile land. Now this is very important statement. Ganga and Son flow through Magad. Now the second reason is Magad had forest. Now because of forest they got wood and that resource was needed for building houses, cars, chariots, palaces, forts, etc. Now these forests also had elephants. So these elephants they could be captured and trained for the army. So elephants were also used as a resource. Now the third reason is iron ore mines. So Magad had iron ore mines and these iron ores could be used to make tools and weapons. So three reasons: Ganga and Son flow through Magad, Magad was forested and iron ore mines existed in Magad. We had seen iron ore in the megalithic culture and now we see iron ore in the later Vedic culture as well. Magad had two very powerful rulers, Bimbisara and Ajatashatru. This is actually Ajatashatru. But we know that this is Magad and Magad will have a ruler called as Ashoka who is going to adopt a religion called as Buddhism. And in Buddhism R is not pronounced and that is the reason they call Dharma Dhamma. Similarly Ajatashatru is also called as Ajatasattu. So this is Ajatashatru actually. So two powerful rulers were Bimbisara and Ajatashatru. And these people they used all possible means to conquer other Janapadas. Mahapadmananda was another important ruler and his control extended up to northwest part of the subcontinent. So three rulers from Magad Bimbisara, Ajashatru, Mahapadmananda. Very important for your MCQs. Bimbisara, Ajashatru and Mahapadmananda, all three belong to Magad. And Mahapadmananda, his control extended up to northwest part of the subcontinent. So what are important here? Magad, it became very powerful because of three reasons: river, forest and iron ore. Three rulers: Bimbisara, Ajashatru, Mahapadmananda. Rajgir, which is in present-day Bihar, was the capital of Magad for several years. Later, the capital was shifted to Patliputra, which is the present-day Patna. So two capitals, first one was Rajgir and then later it was Patliputra. More than 2300 years ago, a ruler named Alexander, who lived in Macedonia in Europe, wanted to become a world conqueror. So this person was a very greedy ruler and he wanted to conquer the world. And this is during 2300 years ago. Now the beginning of Mahajanapadas, it happened 2500 years ago. And we see here that Magad became the most important Mahajanpad in about 200 years. So that means 2300 years ago, when Alexander wanted to conquer India, that time Magad was the most important Mahajanpad. So this person had already conquered parts of Egypt and West Asia, and he had entered Indian subcontinent and he had reached up to the banks of river Beas. But after that, his soldiers refused to move further. Now this is because the soldiers were scared of the Indian rulers and they were scared of the chariots and the elephants. There are several stories which suggest that these soldiers had seen elephants in India and it was the first time that they were seeing elephants. They had never seen elephants before that. And when they saw the number of elephants that were there in the army, they got very scared and they ran away. And that is the reason Alexander could not capture India. So here what is important? Two capitals, Rajgir, Patliputra, and Alexander tried to enter India 2300 years ago when Magad had become the most important Mahajanpad in India. Then Alexander had reached up to the banks of Beas, but after that they returned. Next is Vajji. What is the capital of Vajji? It is Vaishali, which is in present day Bihar. While Magad became a powerful kingdom, Vajji was under a different form of government known as Gana or Sangha. What is Gana? It is a word used for a group that has many members. And Sangha means organization or association. So Gana or Sangha both mean the same thing. So Vajji, they were following Gana or Sangha form of government, which was very different from what was followed in Magad. So what does Gana or Sangha mean? That is, many rulers ruled at the same time. Sometimes there were even thousands of Rajas and all these Rajas ruled together. They performed the rituals together and they sat in assemblies and they took decisions through discussions and debate. So this is how they ruled. However, women, dasas and kammakas could not participate in these assemblies. We had already seen this term kammakas. Where was it? In the paddy fields, dasas, dasis and kammakas were employed and kammakas meant laborers. So kammakas, laborers. Both Buddha and Mahavira belong to Ganas or Sanghas. Some of the most vivid descriptions of life in Sanghas can be found in Buddhist books. Vivid in the sense very clear. That is, clear descriptions are mentioned in Buddhist books. Rajas of powerful kingdoms had tried to conquer these Sanghas, but they could not conquer. However, 1500 years ago, the last of the Ganas or Sanghas were conquered by the Gupta rulers. So when these powerful kingdoms were trying to conquer Vajji, they might have captured some or the other Sanghas. That is, every time they might be capturing few Sanghas, but the last few and the remaining few were captured by the Gupta rulers. So this is again very important. It was because of the Gupta rulers that the system of Sanghas got ended. And this happened 1500 years ago. So that means Vajji existed from 500 BC to 500 AD, because we know that Mahajanapadas existed 2500 years ago. That means 500 BC, and it ended 1500 years ago, means 500 AD. So 500 BC to 500 AD. So what is important here? Gupta rulers entered the Sanghas. Next, Digha Nikaya. So Digha Nikaya, it is a famous Buddhist book which contains speeches of Buddha. So these three keywords are important: Digha Nikaya, Buddhist book, and speeches of Buddha. So this was written about 2300 years ago, and here they have mentioned that Ajashatru, he wanted to attack Vajjis. Ajashatru was from which kingdom? Magad. So Ajashatru of Magad wanted to attack the Vajjis, and he had sent his minister to Buddha to get his advice on the matter. So this is what Buddha has replied. He has in fact asked a question that whether the Vajjis met frequently in full assemblies. And when Buddha got the reply in affirmation, this is what he stated, that Vajjis could continue to prosper as long as they held full and frequent public assemblies. They met and acted together, they followed established rules, they respected, supported, and listened to their elders. Vajji women were not held by force or captured. And finally, Chaityas were maintained in both towns and villages. Chaityas are nothing but local shrines. So this is also important. Chaityas are local shrines. So these are the characteristics of Vajji kingdom. Now here we have to note one statement, that they say that Vajji women were not held by force or captured. This is one aspect, and in the previous slide we had seen that women were not allowed in assemblies. So we see that women have got their free will here, but they were not allowed to participate in the assemblies. That is, they were not allowed to give their opinion there. So we see almost two contradictory statements. So if you get these statements in your MCQ, do not think that one of these statements must be false. Both are true. Okay, Vajji women were not held by force or captured, but Vajji women were not allowed to participate in the assemblies. Saints who followed different beliefs were respected and allowed to enter and leave the country freely. Now the Sangha lifestyle is an altogether different kind of lifestyle, but there were some saints who did not believe in these beliefs and they wanted to follow their own different lifestyle. So those beliefs and those lifestyles were respected and they were allowed to enter and leave the country freely. Elsewhere, 2500 years ago, when India was going through the Mahajanapada period, what was happening in Greece and Athens? So the people of Athens, they had set up a form of government which was called democracy and which lasted for about 200 years. Now these are the features of their version of democracy. All free men over the age of 30 were recognized as full citizens. They met in assembly at least 40 times a year. All citizens could attend the meetings. Appointments for many positions were made through lottery, and citizens were expected to serve in army and navy, but women were not considered citizens. So same like what was happening in Mahajanapadas, women were not given the right. Also, foreigners did not have rights as citizens, and they were slaves in Athens and they were not treated as citizens. So almost similar to what was happening in the Mahajanapadas, and this is in Greece. Athens is the capital of Greece. Now this is Athens in the world map. It is here. What are the adjacent countries? Albania, Republic of Macedonia. We know that Alexander was from Macedonia. So it is this country. Bulgaria and Turkey. This area is also Turkey. So this entire area belongs to Turkey. Then here we have Ionian Sea, Mediterranean Sea and Aegean Sea. So to the left Ionian Sea, to the south Mediterranean Sea, and to the east Aegean Sea. And how many countries are adjacent to it? 4 countries: Albania, Macedonia, Bulgaria and Turkey. So in the last chapter we had seen China. We'll revise it once again. So the adjacent countries are India, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Russia, North Korea, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, Bhutan and Nepal. So these are the adjacent countries. Then we had seen Egypt in the 3rd chapter, and the adjacent countries are Israel, Palestine, Sudan and Libya. Then to the north we have got Mediterranean Sea, and to the east we have got Red Sea. Then France and Turkey we had seen several times, so I am not repeating it. Some important dates. New kinds of Rajas 3000 years ago. That is 3000 years ago, later Vedic period started. Mahajanapadas 2500 years ago. Alexander's invasion 2300 years ago. Composition of Digha Nikaya 2300 years ago. End of Ganas or Sanghas 1500 years ago. Then we saw that since 3000 years ago, Rajas were recognized by performing very big sacrifices, and Ashwamedha was one such sacrifice. Here we saw that Raja occupies the central figure and others have got only minor rituals to perform. Then the ordinary people and other Rajas are expected to bring gifts, and the Shudras, they were excluded from the rituals. Books like Samved, Yajurved and Atharved were composed during this period, and it was composed in North India where Ganga and Yamuna flowed. So this is the difference between Rig Vedic period and the later Vedic period. During the Rig Vedic period, Indus and Saraswati were more important, but in the later Vedic period, Ganga and Yamuna became more important. Then we also saw that in the later Vedic period, people were divided into 4 groups called as Varnas. This was very rigid and it was on the basis of birth. Then we saw that Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, they could perform the religious sacrifices, but Shudras were exempted from such rituals, and women were also grouped with Shudras. So women and Shudras, they were not allowed to study the Vedas during the later Vedic period. But in the Vedic period, women had composed some of the hymns. Then we also saw that towards the end of later Vedic period, some set of people were grouped as untouchables, and these included craftspersons, hunters, gatherers and those who performed burials and cremations. Then here we saw one important statement, and that is Northeast was not much affected by these customs and the influence of priest was limited in Northeast. Then we saw Janapadas, which literally meant the land where the Jana settled down. 3 examples were seen. One is Purana Kila in Delhi, Hastinapur in UP and Athranjikera in UP. Then we had revised that Puru, Bharat and Yadu, these were the Janas or the Vishyas which existed during the Rig Vedic period, and during the Rig Vedic period, Dasas only meant the opponent group of the Aryans, but during the later Vedic period, the term Dasa meant slave. Then we saw one different crop, and that is sugarcane. So sugarcane was grown during the later Vedic period. The earthen pots used in the later Vedic period were grey or red in color. A special type of pottery existed and it was called as painted grey ware. It was painted with designs with simple lines or geometrical patterns. So this is the painted grey ware, which is extremely fine to touch. 2500 years ago, some Mahajanapadas became more important and they were called as Mahajanapadas. So Mahajanapadas existed 2500 years ago, and these had capital cities. These were fortified, and that is the reason they needed more resources, and that is the reason they started taxing the people. Then they have also given 3 reasons for the fortification. First is they were afraid of attacks. Second, they wanted to show off their richness and how powerful they were. Third, they wanted to control the people and the land. We had also revised that during the Rig Vedic period, the Rajas did not have capital cities, nor did they have palaces or armies, and they did not even collect taxes. Here no armies meant no regular army, but whenever it was required, armies were formed. But in Mahajanapadas, there were regular armies and they were paid regular salaries, and sometimes they were paid using the punch-marked coins. Then these are some of the Mahajanapadas and the respective capitals: Gandhar, Takshila, Kuru, Hastinapur, Panchal, Kampilya, Koshal, Shravasti, Vatsa, Kaushambi, Magad, Rajgraha, Vajji, Vaishali, Anga, Champa, Avanti, Ujjain. This is the example of fortification at Kaushambi, and Kaushambi is in present day Uttar Pradesh. Then we also saw that tax was fixed at 1/6 of what was produced, and this was known as bhaga or share. And we also saw that taxation was not in the form of money, it was in the form of products or services. So all these categories either gave their products or their services to the king. Then 2 changes occurred in agriculture, and this was encouraged by the kings because kings wanted to collect more tax from the farmers. The first change was the growing use of iron plowshares. Second is transplanting paddy. Then we saw a term called as kammakars, which meant laborers. So kammakars are laborers. Then we also revised that iron was known during the megalithic period, and during the megalithic period the pots which they used were known as black and red ware. And dasas in the Rig Vedic period only meant that these people did not compose the hymns, they did not perform sacrifices, and they probably spoke different languages. So they were considered as the opponent group of the Aryans. And the system of slave did not exist in the Rig Vedic period, it existed in the later Vedic period. And Rig Veda, this was composed in the northwest of subcontinent, but the later Vedas were composed in the north of the subcontinent. So this is northwest and later Vedic is north. Then we saw two important kingdoms, one is Magad and second one is Vajji. Magad became the most important Mahajanpad in about 200 years because of three reasons. One is Ganga and Son flowed through Magad. Second is it was forested. And third is iron ore mines existed in this region. Then we saw three important powerful rulers. They were Bimbisara, Ajatashatru and Mahapadma Nanda. So all these three belong to the Magad kingdom. The capital of Magad was Rajgriha earlier, then later it was shifted to Patliputra. Then we also saw that Alexander tried to enter India. He reached up to the banks of Beas, but his soldiers got scared of the elephants and they ran back. So this happened during the time when Magad had become extremely powerful, that is 2300 years ago. Then we had seen Vajji. This was different from Magad. They had a different form of government which was known as Gana or Sangha. Here we saw that thousands of men ruled together and all of them were called as Rajas and they performed the rituals together. They met in assemblies and the decisions were taken through discussions and debate. However, women, dasas and kammakas, they could not participate in these assemblies. So very important, Vajji had a very different form of government, but still women, dasas and kammakas were not given their due right. Both Buddha and Mahavira belong to Ganas or Sanghas. Here we saw that the last of the Ganas or Sanghas were conquered by the Gupta rulers. So Gupta rulers become important here. Then we read about a famous Buddhist book which is called Digha Nikaya. It contains speeches of Buddha. It was written about 2300 years ago, the period when Alexander tried to invade India. And in this book they have mentioned about Ajatashatru. He was from Magad kingdom and he wanted to conquer the Vajji kingdom and he had sought advice from Buddha. Then we had seen about Greece where they had set up a democratic form of government and these were the characteristics. So here women were not considered citizens, foreigners did not have the rights of citizens and they also had the system of slaves. So this is Greece in the map, Albania, Macedonia, Bulgaria and Turkey. These four are the adjacent countries and towards its west we have Ionian Sea, Mediterranean Sea in the south and Aegean Sea in the east. Then we had revised about China. The adjacent countries are India, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Russia, North Korea, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, Bhutan and Nepal. Then Egypt, the adjacent countries are Israel, Palestine, Sudan and Libya. You have Mediterranean Sea in the north and Red Sea in the east. Then these were the important dates. Beginning of later Vedic period or new kinds of Rajas existed about 3000 years ago. Mahajanapadas 2500 years ago. Alexander's invasion 2300 years ago. Composition of Digha Nikaya 2300 years ago. End of Ganas or Sanghas 1500 years ago by the Gupta rulers. So that's all from my side. Please like, share and subscribe this channel and I'll be back with the next video very soon. Thank you so much.